There's a storm brewing in the desert. Terry McLaurin, yes, Scary Terry himself, has been linked to the Las Vegas Raiders. And no, this isn't just another wild rumor. Fox Sports has floated the idea, and suddenly, Raider Nation is buzzing. Could it actually happen? Let's be real. A trade for McLaurin might seem far-fetched, but in today's NFL, nothing is off the table. Davante Adams once looked like a pipe dream too, until he was wearing silver and black. So before you laugh it off, stop, take a breath, picture it. McLaurin lined up across from Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers ripping up the seams, Ashton Jeanty punishing defenses on the ground. That's not just firepower. That's a weaponized offense. McLaurin has been the definition of consistent, reliable through coaching chaos, quarterback turnover, and offensive resets. No matter the mess in Washington, he's shown up. He's played hard, and he's stayed healthy. That alone makes him rare in this league. Last year, he put together a career-best season, 13 touchdowns, all while helping a rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels find his footing. That kind of leadership, that kind of production, you don't let it pass by if you're serious about contending. Fox Sports even called Las Vegas a perfect landing spot for McLaurin. And honestly, they're not wrong. The Raiders already have the pieces. A potential breakout star in Brock Bowers, a tough and talented back in Jeanty, and a solid WR2 in Myers. Add McLaurin to that group? That might just be the most dangerous offense in the AFC West. Yes, even over Patrick Mahomes' Chiefs. It's bold, it's risky, but sometimes taking a swing is exactly what separates a team from the middle of the pack, and a team that starts making real noise in January. So no, it's not a guarantee. But never say never in the NFL. The league rewrites its own script every single year. And if the Raiders are smart, this could be their next blockbuster move. Let's talk about why this trade, as unlikely as it might seem, could actually happen. Now, everyone watching knows this isn't a deal that's just going to fall from the sky. But again, never say never in the NFL. And when you start connecting the dots, the possibility becomes a little more real. It all starts with something simple: relationships. In the NFL, big moves often happen because of trust, familiarity, a shared history. And this one? It comes down to Pete Carroll and Dan Quinn. Carroll and Quinn coached together in Seattle for 6 years, a stretch where they built one of the most feared defenses in modern history. They weren't just colleagues, they were partners in success. Quinn has publicly credited Carroll for shaping his career. That kind of bond doesn't fade. And in a league where blockbuster trades require back-channel trust, this connection could be the bridge. If Washington were to make McLaurin available, and if the Raiders are truly serious about upgrading their offense, don't underestimate how much Quinn and Carroll could make this happen, quietly, directly, and fast. Let's move to the second reason this trade could become real: the Raiders' pursuit of a true wide receiver one. Jacoby Myers is steady, reliable, criminally underrated, but the Raiders have made it known. They want elite firepower on the outside. Earlier this offseason, they reportedly tried to trade for DK Metcalf. Think about that. DK himself even admitted he'd love to suit up in silver and black. If the Raiders were willing to go big for him, then chasing McLaurin, who's just as consistent and arguably more complete, makes just as much sense. And yeah, the Raiders do like some of their young wideouts. Trey Tucker has flashed serious speed, Dante Thornton Jr. has turned heads in camp, and Jack Beck shows promise. But none of them, not one, is on McLaurin's level. Not yet, possibly not ever. So when you combine the existing interest in top-tier receivers with the fact that the door to a deal was already cracked open, and the trust between two high-profile coaches, maybe that door isn't locked at all. Maybe Pete Carroll kicks it open for an old friend, and maybe Dan Quinn walks through it, with Terry McLaurin right behind him. There's something else to think about. What if the Raiders aren't planning to extend Jacoby Myers? It's a valid question. Myers has been a solid WR2, but if the front office doesn't view him as a true WR1, then the chance to bring in a player like Terry McLaurin becomes a lot more compelling, especially for a quarterback like Geno Smith, who would benefit from a proven target. Another reason this deal could materialize? Money. McLaurin isn't showing up to team activities because he wants a new contract, and not just any contract, but one that pays him like a top-tier wide receiver. And he's earned that right. He pulled this same move a few years ago in Washington and got an extension. Now, he's doing it again. Washington has around $21 million in cap space. Enough to play with, but not enough to guarantee a deal on McLaurin's terms. The Raiders? They've got the room to act without reshuffling the deck. They could pay him now and lock him in during the prime of his career. But let's not sugarcoat it. McLaurin's next deal won't be cheap. If you think the Raiders can land him without writing a $30 million per year check, you're in for a tough wake-up call. The market has changed. Top receivers are getting paid, and McLaurin has every right to aim for a deal in the range of $30 to $33 million, right up there with DK Metcalf. Some fans will argue, is he really worth that? Fair question. Here's my answer. Yes, without hesitation. McLaurin may not have the flash of Tyreek Hill or the hype of Justin Jefferson, but he is consistently elite. Year in and year out, no matter who's throwing him the ball, he shows up and produces. Personally, I'd rank him as the 7th best wide receiver in the NFL right now, ahead of guys like Nico Collins, due to durability, and even Tyreek Hill, who may be entering the beginning of a physical decline. McLaurin reminds me of a more polished version of Jackson Smith-Njigba. Great hands, smooth route running, and a relentless motor. And if you saw what JSN did with Geno Smith last season, just imagine what Terry could do in this offense. Pair him with Brock Bowers, add in Jacoby Myers, mix in Ashton Jeanty, and suddenly, this Raiders offense doesn't just look good. It looks dangerous. This wouldn't just be a smart move. It could be the move that turns the Raiders into real contenders. Now here's another layer to this. The Christian Wilkins situation. There's uncertainty surrounding Wilkins' health. Some say he may need another surgery. Others say he wants to tough it out and play through the pain. Either way, there's a real concern on the defensive side of the ball. And if you're the Raiders, you can't ignore it. So what's the answer? Score more points. You might not be able to replace Wilkins' impact on the open market, but you can shift your strategy. If your defense takes a step back, maybe your offense needs to take 2 steps forward, and trading for Terry McLaurin could do exactly that. If the Raiders' goal was to average 24 points a game, now it needs to be 28, maybe 30. With McLaurin in the lineup, that's realistic. That's dangerous. No one's saying the defense should be bad, but if the offense becomes one of the most explosive units in the league, suddenly the margin for error on defense gets wider. And if Wilkins isn't fully healthy, the Raiders could look to restructure his deal and free up cap space to make a move for McLaurin. But the most compelling reason? It fits the Raiders' timeline. This team is building, not just for now, but for something bigger. You can feel it. The front office has made it clear. Compete this season and then make a real push in 2026 and 2027. That's the championship window. That's the mission. McLaurin would be in the heart of his prime during those years. Lock him in on a 3 to 4 year deal. Align him with Geno Smith, with Max Crosby, with Brock Bowers, with a coaching staff that now has stability. This isn't just about adding a player. It's about tying him to the Raiders' vision. And maybe that's why we haven't seen Jacoby Myers get extended yet. Maybe the front office is keeping that door open. Not for a solid wide receiver 2, but for a true wide receiver 1. Terry McLaurin could be that move. Let's talk about the trade offers, because if the Raiders really want Terry McLaurin, it's going to take a serious move. Here are 3 realistic trade scenarios that could actually get the deal done. Trade idea number 1. From a Washington Insider Commanders receive, Jacoby Myers, Tyree Wilson, 2026 second-round pick Raiders, receive Terry McLaurin. It's bold, but it works. Washington gets a dependable wide receiver in Myers, a former top 10 pass rusher in Wilson, and future draft capital. The best part? The Raiders keep their first-round pick, and while it's a steep price, Tyree Wilson hasn't fully proven himself yet, and Dan Quinn's background with pass rushers could help unlock that potential. There are also Cowboys connections on both sides, which makes the familiarity even stronger. Trade idea number 2. A deal modeled after the DK Metcalf trade Commanders receive, second-round pick, 7th-round pick. Raiders receive Terry McLaurin, 6th-round pick. This one's clean. No player swap, just draft capital. It mirrors the trade that sent Metcalf packing, and it gives the Commanders a clear return while letting the Raiders keep their core roster intact. Simple, strategic, smart. Trade idea number 3. My version, aggressive but balanced Commanders, receive 2nd-round pick, 5th-round compensatory pick. Wide receiver Trey Tucker, edge rusher Tyree Wilson. Raiders receive Terry McLaurin. Here's the thinking behind it. Las Vegas is projected to receive multiple compensatory picks next year, likely in the fifth round, based on how players like Jermaine Pratt and Nate Hobbs perform for their new teams. That gives the Raiders some flexibility. Instead of trading away Jacoby Myers, they keep him and offer Trey Tucker, a promising young wideout who's having a strong offseason. Sure, he doesn't carry the same value as Myers, but he's cost-controlled and can stretch the field, something Washington might need, especially with Deebo Samuel likely playing out of the slot. Tyree Wilson is also included, giving Washington a young, high-upside edge rusher who could benefit from a new environment and system. It's a deal that keeps the Raiders competitive now, while aligning with a long-term vision built around McLaurin, Bowers, Janty, and Geno Smith. Terry McLaurin doesn't just move the needle, he changes the entire offensive equation. And if the Raiders are serious about making a playoff run while building toward a Super Bowl window in 2026 to 2027, now's the time to make a move.